Welcome to another episode of Nothing Moves Without Us, a Black culture podcast. On every episode, Thomas and I discuss shows, movies, and music from the past 30 plus years that have played a pivotal role in the Black experience.
We are the culture, nothing moves without us. We are the culture, yeah.
We are culture. Nothing moves without us.
Welcome back.
Feels good being back, brother.
Always feels good to be back, man.
How you doing?
Doing good, man. It's been a few months now. We're going on three months now.
How's it gone by that quick?
I feel like it. I feel like we paused in August. So we're gonna take August off. So August, September, October. 4 months. Damn.
Wow. It went by hella quick.
Right.
I would say before we dive in, man, have you had an opportunity to, because I know I took some time to kind of listen to some of our old episodes. Have you had an opportunity to check some of those out?
I haven't. But before we even do that, I realized since I started off, welcome back to Nothing Moves Without Us, a Black culture podcast. We didn't even intro the show. That's how long it's been.
Yeah, but I thought you were going to do the intro.
No, I'm just saying, like, just to kick it off since it's been a minute.
Screw that. Nah, go ahead.
But no, I haven't listened to any old episodes.
I've been listening to a couple of them, and I found that it's just a beautiful time, man. We've had some dynamic conversations. So obviously it feels good being back, but there's so much to come. We've had even greater conversations after the episodes about what's to come. So I'm excited for that.
Right.
But yeah, man, let's dive into today's episode, or did you want to touch base on something else before we dive in?
Nah. We go focus on today.
Cool. So normally as some people, our listeners know, we dive into TV shows, movies, music that are specific around Black culture and its impact on Black culture. But what better way to end the year than to dive into, some of our favorite holiday moments? So Clifford and I are gonna share. We're gonna have a conversation about some of our holiday moments and some of our favorites. We're gonna be doing our top 5 each, right?
Yeah, top 5 each. Top 5 holiday movies, music, TV shows. It's all in the mix of things. Yeah.
All in the mix. And to be clear, because we actually talked about this, when we say holiday, that encompasses every holiday that happens in ever. So Easter, no, I'm joking. We're talking about Christmas, Kwanzaa, Thanksgiving, those types of holidays, the holidays that are happening later in the year. So.
I don't have anything for Hanukkah though. Do you?
I know there's some Adam Sandler movie out there for Hanukkah. That's all I know. But no, I don't have anything for Hanukkah. So
are there any famous Black Jewish people, or are there any famous Black Jewish people that you can think of?
Not that I know of. No, there might be someone, but I'm not the best person to ask because I clearly am not Jewish. So, yeah, not that I know of. Good question though. Good question. So yeah,
Drake. Yeah, again, I'll look it up real quick. Drake is someone. Rashida Jones. So I'm just going through a list real quick.
Rashida Jones is Jewish.
Apparently, I think maybe since she's half, her mother is Jewish, and I think with Judaism, if the mother's Jewish, then the child is Jewish by default also.
Here we go. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. He said, okay.
Yeah. And so the Rashida Jones reference is actually really good. And I don't know if you know, but I'll bring it up again when it happens later on in this episode. But that's a good reference to what we're going to be talking about. So
all right.
We'll table that.
But I'm sorry. Okay. I just pulled this list up. Tracy Ellis Ross is Jewish.
Really?
Lenny Kravitz, who I definitely forgot about. Maya Rudolph. Sammy Davis Jr. is Jewish.
Wow. Okay.
Lisa Bonet. Sorry, that's it. That's all I got. I never really thought about that, like this famous Black Jewish people in Hollywood, but they're there from birth, I guess.
And it sounds like a lot of them are biracial. I'm
Right,
just
right,
saying.
right, right, right.
But who knows? I don't know the backstory, but it sounds like you name a lot of biracial
Right, right, right.
people there. But Sammy Davis Jr. is maybe not, but uh, the other ones you named. So, but yeah, I know that we were gonna have a conversation about some of, or wanted to share some of the things that we do during the holidays. What are your thoughts? Tell me what's on your mind.
Um, I feel like being older, the holidays changed dramatically, drastically. I guess for me, like once I moved out of New York and like was living on my own, I've just been used to spending the holidays alone. I don't like traveling on the holidays, so I stay home for Christmas, stay home for Thanksgiving. Erica usually goes home between one of the two holidays, and we spend the other holiday here. And then I go to New York in like January, February when it's not too crazy. But growing up, I mean, I think the holidays was like a mix of everything. They were like great holidays where we were all together and sitting. There were days where, like, I remember this one day, I think me and my mother had an argument, and she just cooked dinner. She put it on the table, and she just went in her room and closed the door. And I
How
just
old
came.
were you?
I was in my like probably early 20s or late
Okay.
teens, and I just ate Thanksgiving dinner by myself. But it's been a mix of it all. So, but looking back and like we talked about earlier, going through these movies and episodes, you look for the joy. You look for the joy because you know those bad times are just kind of flukes in the experience. The overall experience has been good.
Yeah,
What
word.
about you?
Yeah, so it's there's I feel like levels to it, or there's different timelines. Like when you're a kid, opening presents and spending time with family is one thing, and then as you step into the teenage years and your adult years, the dynamic changes. And I know for me, especially in my early 20s, I used to be a runner. Like I hated being in one place. So what I would do is I would go to all my family. I'm also from New York, so I would go to all my family's houses and grab a dish. So I'll get like,
Right,
I'll get turkey from one place, I'll get macaroni and cheese from another place, and then end up at home with all these different dishes from different family members. And another thing that I always enjoyed is just chilling with the kids. So I'm a type of guy, I pull all the kids in the room, and I'll be on the floor with them, tumbling and jumping around. And
right, right,
as soon as basketball, football comes on, I'm like, yo, you got to go back to your mom's or your dad, because big sports guy. So
right, right, right.
so yeah, but one thing that really uh, that stands out for me, especially growing up, is just like sitting down and having conversations about past holidays that my parents have gone through and things they did with their parents, and their family members, and the elders of our family. I found that to be super super interesting. And you and I talked a little bit about traditions, and we don't have any like rich traditions, but just being together is tradition enough, for some
Right.
families, and taking the time to come together. So um, being from New York, and that hustle and bustle from the city, and then my mom moving to Georgia and celebrating the holidays down there, it's a totally different dynamic than what it was when I was growing up. So yeah.
Right. You talking about it made me realize that I've also spent like there was a brief period of time where I spent the holidays with other people, other friends, and their family. Like I spent like a few Thanksgivings with Alex for like two or 3 years. Every year I'd go up to the Bronx and we just chill out, watch football. I used to spend the holidays with my boy O and his family, like Christmas, just in Jersey, just relaxing and having a good time. Um, so yeah, it's been like exactly to your point. Like as you get older, it just the dynamic just changes, and I think the goal is as you get older, and I feel like we'll talk about it when we go over these movies and episodes. I think the goal for you either go back to wanting to kind of keep it within the family, or you go back to just either being alone or just doing like you do this plate hopping and is enjoying as many different people as you can for the day.
Yeah, something just popped into my head. You and I have known each other for what, like 10, 12 years. We never hung out for Christmas or
Right.
Thanksgiving or any of that. We got to change that, bro. Next year, I'm coming to Colorado for Christmas.
All right, bet.
I might change my mind within the next 11 to 12 months, but for right now, hold me to it.
I expect it to happen. That's why. At the end of the day, I said bet, so I know it's not me. So I'm good. I'm good.
Because yeah, I've known you I know you a long time, and it's we never spent the holidays together. I guess, yeah, just not our thing. I guess, but we got to
Yeah, I
make it
mean,
happen.
yeah.
To me, this is our holiday time.
This is our holiday time. This is what we do every year for as long as the podcast is going, or as long as we know each other, or working on something. We'll collaborate on something for the holidays. I like that.
I can sign on to that, but I'm
All right.
gonna plan on taking a trip for some type of holiday next year. I think that
All right.
I was just telling you before we jumped on here, like my goal next year is to do a lot more traveling, and with COVID starting to, I don't even want to go into COVID because now that I hear there's a new variant, so
Right.
hopefully there'll be opportunity for me to be able to travel a little bit more. But I'll put it out into the universe. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I will attempt for sure. So
Right.
um,
You know what I see for you? I see the future I see for you is this living like in a van, and this living on the road, man. Like just traveling, doing your thing. That's the future I see for you.
I,
I feel like that suits you. That suits your Thanksgiving personality. Just going to different places and being part of every little community you can. That's the future I see for
you know me very well. This is why I call you a brother because you know how I roll. Yeah, that's great, and I also really appreciate you bringing up the real shit that happens during the holidays, right? Like you say, your mom cooked dinner, you and had an argument, she went into the room and you was eating by yourself. Like sometimes
you.
we go through real shit, and holidays. Sometimes you make up, but you do it in a way where it's like, I love you, you here, but we still got some shit we gotta get off our chest.
Right.
And that's just real, man. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, right? It ain't all the happy and good times. Sometimes you gotta go through some shit. So
Right. I feel like that's a good time to transition into this top five list. You want to kick it off? You want me to go first? How you want to do this, man?
I'm gonna let you kick it off.
All
I
right.
just watched yours, so I'm excited to dive in.
All right. So this is in no order at all. Um, but number five, I'll start with Donny Hathaway. This Christmas, and I mostly just think about it like working retail, and that the holiday CD comes on, and that holiday CD is just on repeat for like November through December. And for me, hearing this song like really sets off the holidays for me. Overall, I'm not like big into the atmosphere and spirit of the holidays, but I'm not a like I think we talked about this last week. You said you said you were a Grinch, and I'm
It's
like
true.
I'm not a I don't get into it. I'm not a Grinch, but I think as I've gotten older, I've been um more dedicated. Like I have a niece, so having children in your life where they consistently kind of put you in that mood and spirit. Like I spent the holidays with my sister and my niece, and it's fun to see that. But the Donny Hathaway song, it sets the tone for me for the holidays. There's just something about the lyricism, the fusion of like jazz, the baritone, the soul behind it. It's just like a very unique twist. Um, and for me, like, yeah, it just kind of sets the tone to let me know that the holidays have really started. I think regardless of how many times I've heard it, like on the playlist at work, when it comes on, like I feel it, I feel the energy, and I'm like, yeah, it is a very special Christmas. It's a very positive and optimistic song, and yeah, I
Yeah,
love it,
man.
love it.
When I saw this on your list, I was hyped because I was like, man, I thought it might be something that I put on my list. I think I couldn't agree with you more. You said it great. I think also another thing that's interesting with that is that you look at kids, maybe last kids in their 20s, and I say early to late 20s. Their Christmas music is so different than what you and I used to growing up listening to.
Right,
Um, and obviously, especially in Black families, we have our go tos, but uh, I hear a lot of kids, even at and working in retail, you got your Mariah Carey. Everybody loves Mariah Carey Christmas. Anything Mariah Carey does for Christmas, people are hyped. So yeah, this song is real special, and Donny Hathaway just as a lyricist is just incredible, right? So yeah, man, it was a great choice, great choice.
right. So I wanted to bring this up. I thought about bringing this up, and I'm glad you made the point. You talked about like Black family, so my family's from Haiti, so I'm Haitian American. So I don't innately have the same. I feel like, and I'm aware that I don't innately have the same experience as African Americans. When it comes to like the music and holidays, I think a lot of Jamaican people I've known growing up, a lot of them are more ingrained into African American culture. Because Haiti just has like a very unique history and culture. I think mostly because of the language. So a lot of these things are they're me looking at it from a different perspective in terms of knowing that they're not like my innate experience, knowing that they don't feel like part of the Haitian experience, but knowing that at the end of the day it doesn't matter because it's part of the collective Black experience in the U.S. And I talk about any Black person that moves here, that's born here. Once you're in the U.S. and you're Black, you just inherit the Black experience. So all of it becomes your culture. So I just kind of wanted to add that to the point in terms of like how I've been seeing things like rewatching these episodes.
Yeah, for sure. Another spot on point. I think too when living in a city like New York City, there's so many different cultures, right? It's a melting pot of culture. So you see people celebrate not only Thanksgiving or Christmas, but even the Kwanzaas and like we said, the Hanukkahs. They celebrate it in so many different ways because it's just a huge melting pot of people. So you can have Thanksgiving with your family or Christmas with your family, and go to the store and someone's having a toy like you walk past the house and having a totally different experience.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's definitely a great point.
All right. I'll do number 4. Everybody Hates Chris, season 3, episode 10. Everybody Hates Kwanzaa. So Everybody Hates Chris is in the 2000s. There was like this. I'll use the word plethora of all these Black shows that didn't get as much respect that I think they should have. Everybody Hates Chris, the Bernie Mac show, definitely. But those are like the main two ones like I really love. Everybody Hates Chris is just always consistently on point with just everything the Black experience, money struggles, family. But Everybody Hates Kwanzaa is just it's once again it's his dad being cheap, and he makes the family celebrate Kwanzaa because he doesn't have he didn't get his bonus to buy them Christmas gifts. Um, so like a lot of thoughts came to mind when I watched this episode. One was thinking about why don't Black people celebrate Kwanzaa more? And I know I'm supposed to talk about the episode, but for me, like I really want to talk about just the perspective and have a good, real dialogue about this because I don't feel people talk about it. Like why don't Black people celebrate Kwanzaa? Like you think about the tradition, the culture, think about the Black experience and the narrative of feeling like the Black experience is limited, feeling like everything's controlled. But we have this holiday, right? We have this holiday. Even if you're not African American, as long as you're Black in the US, I think it's something that you should embody. It represents the culture and heritage of African ancestry, West Indian ancestry. It's rooted in love and community and family. Um, but Christmas just kind of takes precedent. And like while I was watching the episode, everything that I saw Chris doing in relation to Christmas, like he helped out the homeless guy, I forget his name. He helped him like find his mother who was rich, and his mother always gave him money, which is like interesting story. But everything he was doing for Christmas, I'm like he could have been doing that for Kwanzaa, and it would have had a more significant meaning because it's rooted in knowing that it's for the Black experience versus Christmas, which is rooted in Christianity and religion and religious oppression.
Yeah, so to be completely honest with you, when I looked up this episode, I ended up looking at the wrong episode. So I watched 2 Christmas episodes from Everybody Hates Chris. So I watched one where he didn't even talk about Kwanzaa. It was like one in the early seasons. And then I realized that I was watching the wrong episode. So then I found this episode and watched the right one.
Was that
But
my fault? Did I give you the wrong?
no,
I might
you
have
didn't
given
give
you
me.
the wrong.
No, it
Okay.
wasn't you. When I looked it up, I Googled Christmas episode and it gave me, or Kwanzaa episode, and it gave me that episode as well. So I
Got it.
watched
Got
that
it.
one.
All right.
But But what was really, really interesting for me in this episode, and I agree with you, Kwanzaa is something that we really don't talk about as much, but I think it's because of the history of it, right? Like, like everybody is rooted in Christmas, 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 Christmas because that's been around hundreds of years, whereas Kwanzaa is something that's been around, I would say, less than 100 years, if I'm not mistaken, or at this point, close to it. So when I was watching the episode, I couldn't help, but in some ways, I don't want to say it was offensive, but in some ways it reminded me of like a Chappelle skit where Chris Rock was throwing puns at this on purpose to make it funny,
Right, right,
to
right,
make it
right.
comical, but it was a lot of truth in it, right? So like when the family's dressed up in their what is it? It's like African or their the specific get
I'll
up
look it up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as they're dressed up, people, they're kind of like walking funny, and everybody that comes to the house, they're like, "Why does your house look like this?" Because it doesn't have a Christmas tree and it doesn't have all the your typical Christmas ornaments and cheer and all that. But it's still rooted in love. It's still rooted in care. Like
Right,
that that was kind of interesting to me, and it was also very strange to me watching how Chris's sister. The thing with his sister was interesting to me. How his sister kind of felt ashamed when she got something from her friend, and was like, "I got to get something for her," so end up stealing something to
right,
give to the friend. Um, so that was interesting, and but I love the little, and it wasn't long. It's probably like 30 seconds of them giving the history of Kwanzaa,
right,
and telling you who created it, and there was some jokes in it. But I really thought that was key. And obviously, when it comes to this being a sitcom and this being that the type of show that Chris Rock created, it was just a lot of comedic uh, tones to it. But yeah, I'm glad you sent it. You shared it with me because I think um, I learned some stuff I didn't know, and I didn't really like. Yeah, the dad was doing Kwanzaa because he's cheap, but that's not what Kwanzaa is about. And I
right.
think I think that was something that I learned. Um, so yeah, it was a cool, it was, typical Chris Rock sitcom. Everybody hates Chris
Right.
episode. Yeah, and it was funny too. Just to end it here, Chris says in the episode, he's like Christmas doesn't mean anything because I never get anything for Christmas. And it's funny because I seen the episode where he wanted the Walkman and they couldn't get it from him. I don't know if they got it
Right.
from him because I didn't watch the whole episode, but it made sense to me because I seen the previous episode for Christmas.
Right.
So
Just real quick. A woman's outfit is typically called a kaftan, and man's top is dashiki.
oh, he's doing a
Or
dashiki.
yeah, yeah. Um, I had the same feeling when you brought up. Like, I felt the way about Chris Rock making fun of Kwanzaa. I felt the way about it. Um, and it just kind of spiraled into this whole perspective of black figureheads who get propelled into these positions, who still kind of mock and ridicule experiences and ideas that can propel the black experience, right? Like going into the episode, everybody hates Kwanzaa. Like you said, it's a sitcom. I know what the show is supposed to be about, but for some reason, I thought he'd like big up Kwanzaa and it'd be more focused on Kwanzaa. But it was really, it felt like him just shitting on Kwanzaa about. I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. It felt like he was shitting on Kwanzaa and like your family's always broke, right? Your family's always broke. Your family's always struggle. Like why take it out on Kwanzaa? Um, it felt tasteless. And like these past few days, I've been thinking about what maybe maybe I should start celebrating Kwanzaa more. Like forget Christmas and the single day of what it means, and like really embody the tradition, the culture, and the experience of Kwanzaa. So it's something that I'm kind of mulling over, and it may be something I start doing next year. Yeah,
Yeah, you again, man. You and I are unison because I feel the same. I feel like what I saw in this episode is exactly how I've been treating Kwanzaa as someone who celebrates Christmas. Like I've looked at it that way. Like, yeah, I've I've heard about it. Yeah, I know a little bit about it. But when I hear about it, I kind of just look the other way. I'm like, Kwanzaa, whatever.
Right, right, right.
Um, and I felt like it was a missed opportunity. There's so much more they could have did in this episode. It was a missed opportunity. The brother Drew, he was really into it. He was really getting, and he was
Yeah,
getting like called out for it at certain points. And I thought that was kind of messed up because the way he was into it and educated himself and understanding it, it wasn't to me overbearing. He wasn't throwing it in anybody's face. It just was like, hey, this means this thing and this means that thing. And Chris Rock would throw little puns at him
right.
for that. So yeah, I felt like it was a missed opportunity, but at the same time, it made it on TV screens for people to see, and it's clearly an episode you and I are having a conversation. So there's impact there because you and I are talking about it. So
Right, right. So you're African American, right?
I am, yes.
So what's your experience with Kwanzaa and people celebrating Kwanzaa growing up?
Yeah, I don't have any experience. That's what I was saying. Like I've heard about it as I've in my adulthood. I've learned about it more, but growing up, my parents never talked about Kwanzaa ever, and it kind of confuses me a little bit because my dad is really big into into the Black Power movement, and he's really big into the red, black, and green. And in my head, I'm like, that's exactly what Kwanzaa represents. So
Right,
after watching these episodes, I'm gonna go and actually have a conversation with him and ask him his thoughts because I've never had a conversation with my dad about Kwanzaa.
right.
Um, but to be fair, my parents are not really holiday people. Like my dad doesn't celebrate Christmas like that. My mom, like, they used to get us toys and stuff, but it wasn't anything more than we're gonna spend time with our family. And our families used to have the big extravagant things. But as far as us at home, it'd just be like, hey, we're gonna go to your grandmother's house or we're gonna go to your cousin's house.
Right.
So yeah, but I knew nothing about Kwanzaa until I became an adult.
The
So
only thing I remember learning about it in school. I just remember it was like a chorus, a musical song about it. It's Kwanzaa, an African American celebration, a party across the nation. That's like the only thing that ever stuck with me throughout the years. But yeah. Um, all right. So this real quick, I forgot to list where I watched these. So hey, Everybody Hates Chris. Everybody Hates Chris. I watched on Hulu. It's also available on Amazon Prime. Down Hathaway is on Spotify, pretty much any music streaming channel. Number three, since we're talking about Kwanzaa, I'll go into Rugrats Kwanzaa, which I I had to go to a bootleg site to watch because it's just not available
you and I
anywhere.
both.
um, it's so before even watching the episode, my thought was thinking that Rugrats is for children, it's for younger generation, and the significance of thinking of like being a young black youth adolescent and watching a show about a black holiday, a black culture, and black experience, and thinking that it would have the impact to like inspire more young black people to grow up to celebrate Kwanzaa. But again, not seeing that, and like we talked about, Everybody Hates Chris episode. But it's fun to see it in the cartoon form, and it's fun to see just the relationship of the different generations of the black experience. So you have the grandmother, and she's there to celebrate
Aunt,
Kwanzaa.
the aunt,
Huh? The aunt,
that's-
excuse me, the aunt. She's
Aunt
there,
T.
auntie. Thank you. Um, she's there to teach the family, teach the kids, teach the babies, right, about this unique holiday that is um, important to the black experience. You have the mother and the father. Mother just feels disinterested and dismissive. The dad, he feels like he's one of these. There's this phrase called like boule blacks, like the high snob society. Oh, I'm too busy. I have to write his comedy. All this brushing off grandma, but you see grandma interact with the kids, and the kids are they're loving every second of it. They're there for the stories. They're there for the creativeness, the dancing, the drums. They're all having fun. And I was thinking about the generational shift, right? There's the I said grandmother just because she was older, but aunt, but she's older. She's older. The older generation of people like in their 50s and plus who like went through the the real struggle. Well, not the real struggle. The more challenging social struggle of the Black experience, like the civil rights movement, and like
Yeah.
having it blossom and bloom. They're more in tune. They're more inclined to fall in line and to want to celebrate these um, new ideas or new practices that are unique to the Black experience. But the parents, the next generation down, the ones in their 30s and early 40s, they just want to make it, right, or they've made it and they just want to, I made it in America. Let me just do everything is good. Everything is good. We don't need to worry about that. Like like the idea of thinking that racism is over or oppression is over. We're good. We made it. Everything is good. We don't need to worry about that. And you see the kids, right? The kids are more open and more willing to learn, more open and more willing to, um, I guess, not try something new, but more willing to take in new ideas and change. And I think that's just representative of what all experiences are, right? As a child, you're more willing to try new things and learn everything. And then somewhere in between your 30s and 40s, it just gets beat out of you. And you just kind of conform and give in. And that's what this episode felt like initially. And it wasn't until the end where like they all finally came together and everyone was celebrating. And I was like, all right, like there's always closure, which is what needs to be. There's always closure. Um, and I guess that's what matters at the end of the day, having the closure.
Yeah. So this episode to me was extremely well done. I feel like this is what Everybody Hates Chris should have been. Um, so there are a couple things that stood out to me right away. When the episode starts, they're having a typical Christmas, right? They're opening gifts. The kids are like, one kid gets a soccer ball, another kid, I think she gets a cell phone. Uh, one of the kids, he gets like these science items, and he's doing this thing. And then uh, Susie, the black, the youngest, she gets kind of dolls, and she's playing with dolls and creating black dolls. I thought it was cool how she was doing that. And then out of nowhere, the auntie comes in and she's like, Kwanzaa, like, hey, Kwanzaa guys. And
Right, right, right.
they're all like, what the hell's Kwanzaa? So I thought that was that was some real life shit. Like I could see families like celebrating Christmas, and you got that one, elder that's like, let's do Kwanzaa, and they're like, what the hell is that? And then when she gives them their gifts and they open their gifts, they're not surprised, but they're not upset. They're like
Right,
intrigued by their gifts. They're like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. And I really loved how the rest of the Rugrats found ways to be
right, right,
incorporated in the journey, right? So they start playing with the gifts, and there's one of the kids gets a mask, and another one, Susie gets a photo album, and they're like, "What's this book?" And it's just really cool. So
right,
I just thought it was really cool how they gave a little history. Then they go through the photo album. I thought it was really cool talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and that story that the great aunt
right, right,
had. And
right.
I just thought it was really, for it to be a cartoon and for kids, it was really cute. It was a cute show, and a cute episode, and I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was very surprised because I thought I was going to dread it.
Right, right,
I went into it like I don't want to watch a damn cartoon, but
right, right.
I know the Rugrats pushed the envelope with some of the things that they did throughout. Um, when they were on TV. So it was just it was just cool to see the twins talking, and Chucky getting his hair, done by
Right, right, right.
by Susie, and it was just cool. I was like, yo, I remember the Rugrats being cool like this,
Right,
um, and in some ways, I like that the uncle, I believe his name's Uncle Charles. I like that he came later on because it kind of let the aunt do her thing. Like it wasn't so much him throwing it into the kid's face. I felt like she had like a cool finesse and fun and
right, right, right.
charisma to her. And even when she's like telling a story about when her and Uncle Charles gives the mom money to go to Harvard,
Right, right.
and she just doesn't really like. It's just so cool. Like, hey baby, like your typical aunt, like your typical black aunt. Um, and I just really enjoyed it. I actually think I'm going to watch it again because I thought it was really good. So
Yeah,
yeah, good choice.
yeah. You brought up a lot of things that I totally forgot about, like the story, like you said with Uncle Charles and like meeting Martin Luther King Jr. And what I really like about that episode is, although it's a cartoon, it's rooted in what the Black experience really feels like. So like, there's a scene, there's a flashback, and like there's a guy fixing a car, and he's like, "Oh, I have to go make a speech." And she's like, "Well, yeah, your shirt's so dirty. Let me get you one of Charles's shirt." And you think like, yeah, like that's real. That's something like a Black woman would do. They'd be like, "Yo, you gotta make this. You gotta be somewhere important. Let me get you my husband's thing so you can do your thing." And then he comes out in the car, and it's Martin Luther King Jr. and she faints. The scene with paying for college was just beautiful. Knowing that you invest in the youth, right? You invest in the youth. You invest in the future, and in your lifetime you make sacrifices and you make choices so that you can support the next generation when they need you. And she was able to do that. She did that for the family. They're well off, and now she's trying to inspire the youth and kind of put some spark into them, which was dope.
Yeah, I
uh
loved it. Great, good choice, man. I'm surprised I've never seen it before, so I'm
me too,
glad.
me too, man. Number four is soul food, soul food, soul food. And soul food, I mean, I think that is just classic, 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 classic movie. Um, and I was trying to, I talked about the Black experience versus, the my Haitian experience, and we, also like Sundays were for us. Sundays were like bacon days. Sundays, like on the weekends, my mother had off. On Sunday, we like bake cake, and she'd make like a reasonable size dinner. Um, what was? Did you have any special like family days during the week or family traditions that brought you all together growing up?
Yeah, well, I grew up in, I guess you could say, single
Forced
fam.
homed.
Well, not that was a part
Oh,
of
sorry,
it.
sorry.
Younger, but when I started living with my parents had never been in the same or lived together. So, I had many years I lived with my dad and many years I lived with my mom. Um, my mom always cooked every day. Sunday was normally weekends is her day to clean the house. So
Right,
I have more memories of us, listening to these old Motown and that type of era music while she's cleaning. And then my dad, he always was off on Sunday, so that was our days to like watch football. And my dad cooks, and when I remember being a kid, he always used to make us pancakes. That was like his thing. He would make us
right.
pancakes. I got to ask him that too. I'm gonna ask him why he don't do that anymore. Uh,
Because you older, you probably don't care no
nah,
more.
it was. I would eat it. Yeah, he's really into making cornbread now. That's his thing. Makes a lot of cornbread, but
Pancakes and Kwanzaa conversation. That's a good way to bring it back.
yeah, I think that's gonna be this Christmas for us because when I was a kid, every Christmas he would make pancakes and then he would go to work. My dad usually worked because he worked for the Department of Sanitation, so he worked 4 to 12. So in the morning he'd be with us and then he'd go to work.
Right.
But yeah, it's just interesting because Sundays in our household were just catching up. Going to school Monday to Friday. That was our only time to really see him, and he was always off on Sunday. So my brother and I would just watch sports, watch basketball. We literally would have, and he and I were talking about this the other day. TV dinners. Remember when Tyson
I
used to make
remember
TV?
those with the
We
blue trays.
bro, we would have TV dinners and watch sports. That's what we were doing in the night, like late '90s. Me, my dad, and my brother. So it's funny. We talk about the other day. We're like, when the last time you had a TV dinner? So
That's
so
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, the only tradition I remember, or one of the traditions that I really remember, is on every Friday night we'd go to the McDonald's on Church and Flatbush. That'd be like our week treat, just to kind of relax and talk and enjoy outside food. When you brought up your dad working on, I think you said Christmas, I was thinking about there was one Thanksgiving when my mother worked, and she used to work from like 10 to 7. She did that 10 to 7, and me and my sister are home, just waiting. And she came home after a long day of work, man, and she cooked Thanksgiving dinner like from scratch, and like did her regular thing. And I'm just like, damn, like yo, dedication,
She's
love,
a
and
real one.
support.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, soul food. Not anyway, but soul food, soul food, soul food.
Great segue.
Just thinking about family tradition, man, and the importance of family and the importance of forgiveness. Because like there's so many different themes, like within that movie, and I'm not gonna remember all the characters' names. I'll try my best, but um, you start with Big Mama, right? Thinking about Aunt T from the Rugrats, and again, the older generation wanting to instill tradition and wanting to be like, this is what's important. This is what's important. What's important. And the only person, I think, the only person who really gets it throughout the entire movie is Ahmad. Like the one of the last scenes where he lies to them, so they come over for Sunday dinner at Big Mama's house after she's passed away, and they're like, "Ahmad, where's the money Big Mama stashed?" He's like, "I lied to you, I lied to you," and he's crying. He's like, "Yo, this the only way I could have brought y'all together, right?" And I'm sitting there, I got tears in my eyes, and I'm like, "Yo, this is beautiful," and I'm like, "Yo, this young dude can act. This young dude could act." And like I'm looking for his to see what he's been up to, but like nothing came out of it. It was weird. But anyway, thinking about like there's those 30s and 40s years, man. Like we lose so much focus as people because we're just focused on our own individual goals, and we lose sight of tradition and family. And it's either the older generation, Big Mama, or the younger generation, Ahmad, kind of reeling us back in. I mean, overall, it feels like usual themes. While I was watching it, I was thinking of this is like pre Tyler Perry movies, right? It's like
Yeah.
right, and if it's or rather Tyler Perry's modern movies are like the equivalent of like what soul food is, right? There's Medea is Big Mama essentially, right?
Yeah.
And there's the food, there's the laughter, there's all of that. But at the end of the day, family sticks together, and I think that's what matters. Um, Thinking about the food, like watching the beginning, you see Big Mama happy. There's a wedding scene. Big Mama's happy. She's laughing, and Ahmad is doing the voiceover or narrating, talking about how everyone loves Big Mama. And she's just always happy and all of this. And she has a stroke, and in my mind, I'm thinking, Big Mama was happy. She had a good life. What caused a stroke? The food, the food, right? The food. And that's like one of the drawbacks, I think, in thinking about soul food and understanding that although the culture is there, although the history is there, the food within itself is also a drawback because a lot of Black food is unhealthy and unfitting, and it is dangerous to Black health. I think that down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously it's the name of the film, so it's all about the film, right? And it's a
Right.
big thing. A couple things you said that gave me some. I have some thoughts around it. So, like you said, Ahmad and Big Mama. Really, Ahmad his role in the film was to reignite the family, reignite that flame. But as you see, like there was a time where they were having these Sunday dinners and everything was good, and but that required Big Mama's, you know, really all her efforts, and
Right.
everybody else kind of tied in. Um, and I do agree with you from a kind of blueprint for movies as this has gone on from your Tyler Perry movies. There's a film that we're going to talk about later on that's similar as well, where there's a lot that it's the same story, but it's told from different perspective. Just a different perspective, but it's the same exact story. Black family eating dinner. One person can cook, one can't. One
Right.
person is coming from jail, always in trouble, or like that's literally the blueprint for these films. But it's just different perspectives, different ways to tell the story. Um, One thing that I really loved about this film was that in some ways the unsung hero was the nuisance, or not so much a nuisance, but I feel like the uncle that didn't really talk that much, the uncle that that was basically he was someone that needed constant care, and so kind of breaking. He breaks the television. They find the money. Woohoo! Everybody's
Right.
happy again, right? So that was something I thought was really cool, and it's classic Mekhi Phifer. I love young Mekhi Phifer, and you got Vanessa Williams and a couple of a lot of those people that I feel like and at that time they were perfectly casted for the film.
Right.
I think Nia Long's in it as well.
Right.
Love me some Nia Long. So yeah, they just that film, the timing of it and the cast, it just felt really really homey, and uh, you're absolutely right. We as a people, which is funny because I see a lot of memes now and a lot of gifs and jokes around going. You got that one vegan person at at family dinners that
Right.
they can't eat. They got to bring their own food, and it's a funny thing. But you're absolutely right. I think there's ways to to be healthy and ways to have healthier options and do it where it's not the joke. You're not the
Right.
butt. You're not a butt of a joke, but it's actually because we care about each other and we love each other and we're family. So um, those are things that we never talked about maybe 10, 20 years ago. It just you can't eat. That's your problem. Figure it out.
Right.
So yeah,
Right. I like that you brought up the cast, 'cause that's something that I was thinking about too. And mostly in terms of like I was focused on Mekhi Phifer too, because like that was the dude in the '90s, man. Mekhi Phifer was really that dude in the '90s. And like the last memorable thing I remember, the most recent memorable thing I remember him in was ER. And I feel like what happens with a lot of black actors is, or what it feels like, I guess, for the '90s and 2000s was there was this rush to like build black, right? Like I said, I talked about the Bernie Mac show, I talked about the Chris, Everybody Hates Chris, movies like Soul Food, The Wood. Um, I'm sure like some of the movies and the things you'll bring up also. But it feels like like going back to the earlier point of like racism being over and we're past it, that it just doesn't feel as prominent anymore on a large scale. Like I know there's like all these there's like this streaming service called Quelly TV, Watch Black. There's all these other small independent uh, uh platforms, or I guess platforms for like
yeah.
black movies and shows, but we don't see the longevity, and I feel like in black actors um now. Like I think about, like, Brad Pitt, old ass, still do a movie. Like who's the black Tom Hanks, right? Who did we grow up with that has like the equivalent of Tom Hanks or George Clooney? And it feels like black actors and actresses don't get that longevity once they start off focused on community and building black movies together, but then at some point they just break out into being that singular black person on the show. And I was again thinking about Mekhi Phifer and ER. Have you watched The Harder They Fall recently?
The Holiday Fall.
The Harder They Fall, it's a Western movie
Oh
with
yeah,
Idris
yeah. I watched
Elba.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like seeing that is dope. Seeing that was dope. And I mean, Idris Elba, I feel like is more new compared to like the people we grew up in the '90s and '20s, but yeah, it feels like the longevity isn't there to give black actors legs to kind of be legends as they get older. Yeah,
Yeah, well, movie roles, changed, right? The stories that we were telling 10 years ago, 20 years ago are not the same stories that we're telling now. And, you're absolutely right. I think, but, we had the Denzels and the Will Smiths and the Jamie Foxxes, right? Those guys, they've been around a long time. The Morgan
right,
Freemans, Danny Glovers, those guys have been around a long time, but the type of films they're making, a lot of those are mainstream films now. They're not specifically around the culture. But
right.
you have some of them that every now and then they come out with a gem. Like, you have Will Smith who just
King
did it.
Richard,
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to check it out.
beautiful, 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 man.
Uh,
I'd love to talk to you about that too.
yeah, I can't wait
Whenever
to
you get
check
to
it out.
watch it.
I watched The Harder They Fall. Is that what's the name of
Yeah,
it? The Harder
yeah.
They Fall. I watched that. Me personally, I didn't like it, but we could talk about that another time. I just thought there was a lot of discrepancies in it, but but I would never talk negative about it because it's something for the culture. It's something that
Right.
we're creating. Like I'm my review or my thoughts about it is not negative. It's just something that it's not. There are things that it's not for me. Um, so I always tell people whenever, no matter what the film, I suggest you watch it for yourself and you come up with your own ideas. Um, but you're absolutely right. I think there's, you know, I don't want to say so much to Tom Hanks, but you look at someone like a Denzel, and you got stuff like, he's doing things like The Equalizer, and that's cool. But I do think it'd be cool to see more things like Fences and films like that to just give us
More
more insight.
drama.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
insight to where we are as a culture. And there are, like I said, there are people doing things. So I don't want to take away from that. But it's like any great hip hop artist, right? Or any great musician. You make your best work when you're starving, and then when you make it, you just kind of just be putting stuff out there. I feel like that's something that's happened with like Kevin Hart,
Right.
and even like the Kanyes. You and I have talked about it. So
Right.
from an actor standpoint, there's stuff that Idris has done. Even Will Smith, I'm like, wow, why are these guys doing it? Like, why?
Right.
So I guess that's what it is too.
All right. So last one is for me, and this is for me. It's of course it's the Boondocks, season 1, episode 7, A Huey Freeman Christmas. I know you said you haven't watched the Boondocks before. Boondocks is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's adapted from the Boondocks comic strip by Aaron Magruder, and it's just the reality of what the Black experience is. Aaron Magruder gets it right. So it was interesting to me in the beginning of the episode. Huey's in class. Huey Freeman's in class, and Huey's voiced by Regina King, and Riley's voiced by Regina King. Great cast. Granddad is voiced by John Witherspoon. At the beginning of the class, they start off with beginning of the episode, they start off in class with Huey's teacher talking to them about Kwanzaa. He's cheering on Harambe. He's trying to get Huey involved because Huey's the only Black person in the class. And then, like, the next scene, they ask Huey to do a Christmas play, which I thought was weird, right? It's like, on one aspect, here you are promoting Kwanzaa, and it's like, yeah, but what's really important is Christmas. So, like, you want to do this Christmas play? So Huey being the egotistical person that he is, he's also a Scrooge. He changes the dynamic of the play. He wants it to be an all Black cast. He fires all of the kids because they're like dancing. He hires Quincy Jones. He has like Angela Bassett. He has Will Smith. He has all these people.
Denzel's in it.
Right. Here he is, right, getting all the old Black actors involved, right, and keep allowing them to have the longevity. He's getting them involved, and he wants there to be a Black Jesus. He wants there to be a Black Jesus. And there's like so many different stories. There's like Jasmine and Riley's relationship, and Jasmine said, Christmas is when Santa died for our sins and rose again on the third day. And I cried, bro. I cried from laughter because most of us don't know, right? Like on a collective level, people don't know what it is. It's just time to get gifts, and you just make up whatever story feels right. You have Riley, who was bitter and angry at Santa. Right, dear Santa, you bitch ass nigga, I'm coming for that ass.
Wow.
And what I realized about Riley is that Riley's just a heartbroken kid. He's really just heartbroken. Like, really seeing him interact with Jasmine, and like there was a scene where I think he's at the mall and Jasmine's sad about Santa, and Riley's like, "Cause Santa ain't real," and he just walks off sad. So he puts on his front Riley, for me, Riley represents just the Black, like, stereotypical fraudulent Blackness. Is everyone's hard on the surface. Morality, you're broken. Yes, you're sad, and it's cool. Uncle Ruckus is like the hero of the episode, right? Like he's giving hope to Jasmine when she's sad. He's like, I expect a little jungle monkey like Riley not to believe in Santa, but I expect better from you. And the end result is that Huey doesn't get to. Huey gets fired from the play, and the play goes on. There is a black Jesus, but no one comes to watch it because he fired all the students, and the PTA had like a protest because people just want to see their kids. People don't care about like the overall theme. Or what I realized two things is that number one, people don't really like the truth. That's Huey's message. Huey just wants to hammer the truth, hammer the truth. That's all that matters to him. But reality is that people just want to have fun and see their kids, and Huey couldn't get that. Um, but I think it's a beautiful story about this life lessons and not being arrogant and not imposing what you want and thinking what you want is more important than again the collective experience. The play is for the school, it plays for the neighborhood, it plays for the community. It can't just be about you, and you lose out, right? When you try to make something for everyone, make something for no one, and that's the end result of it. And
Yeah,
that's my five. That's my five.
yeah. I gotta say, man, that was a great five. I enjoyed it all. This one was a challenge. This watching this one, there were a couple things that I just thought was, obviously I get it. It's America. It is what it is. But there were things that were happening. I just was like, yo, this is so fucked up. Um, the whole thing with Rashida Jones, Quincy Jones is her father, so that's what I said.
Right.
The Rashida Jones thing will tie in later, which I thought was really cool. You brought that up. But what really kind of irked me was the whole thing when Riley's like going in on Santa, and the white Santa ends up being, you know, he just kind of he's like, "Fuck it, I ain't coming back." And then they got Black Santa. You know, they hired a security, I guess, a security guard to be Santa,
Right.
and I just thought it could have been one, the way people were acting with him being Santa was kind of fucked up, and two, I get it, he didn't look the best and he didn't look the part, but they could have got another black character. They could have made a black character to be Santa, so that kind of irked me. I was like, and then the you're right, the little girl, what was her name? You said Jasmine.
Jasmine.
She was oblivious. Like her amount of like oblivion where she was, her head when it came to it was mind blowing to me. I was like, this is crazy. Um, and it's Riley, and what's the other character?
Huey.
Huey. So I love Huey as a. I have to watch the show more because
You're gonna
Huey
love it,
gets
man.
it. He's very. He's very like, oh, you want to play this? Okay, I got you. I got you. This is how we doing this. And the whole idea of getting this contract signed, like, cool. If you want me to do this, give me a contract.
Right.
And then you go through the whole episode every 5 seconds, contract,
Contract.
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 And then out of nowhere, gets to the principal, and the principal's like, fuck this contract, and rips it up right in his face, like rips up the contract. I thought that was so just, what was the point? And then they're going through and they're like, oh, we don't really have a problem with this, but there needs to be a couple changes. And they go through the changes and they're small down. I know it's like, Jesus can't be black. It's like, what? Jesus can't be black. Like the name of the, like, what? So I really love how Huey is like, fuck the establishment. I'm gonna do what I do. Yeah, I can rock with it. Yeah, or yeah, I can't. But like you said, at the end of the day, the show went on. Who saw it needed to see it, and it was a bigger lesson overall. But yeah, it was just, I was just like, man, this is. But once again, this is what the holidays look like in America. Like I literally, if there was a black Santa Claus sitting in these malls, and some of the malls have it. And I saw the other day, I'm sitting on my couch watching football, and I saw a commercial with a black Santa Claus.
Right.
And it blew my mind. I was blown away. I can't remember what company. I think it was Oreo. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure it was Oreo. And it was during a football game, and I was like, okay, now I see what's happening now. So it came to my mind like having a black Santa Claus, and I've seen like videos and stories of certain areas in America where they have black Santa Clauses and the kids are so hype and da da da. But imagine if there were black Santa Clauses in these malls around America.
It's no one's ever seen Santa, no one's ever seen Jesus, but everyone knows for a fact that they ain't black. That's all that matters, right? That's all that matters. That's all- And again, it goes back to the idea of not it's not the black culture. Christmas is not the black culture. It is the American culture. Um, and whatever what could that substitute be for Kwanzaa, right? I don't like I said, I don't know much about Kwanzaa, but who would be the representative to or representative for Kwanzaa that black people would be happy to see, and that would be enough, right? You don't have to deal with the rejection of whiteness in these spaces.
Well,
Uh,
it took it to another level for me of understanding because I categorize myself as a Scrooge. But in all realness and in all honesty, why do I have to be a Scrooge? Why can't I just be someone who doesn't conform to Christmas,
right,
right?
right,
But for whatever reason, because it's drilled in our heads, it's like Christmas, 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 these holidays, these holidays, holidays. I got nothing against you doing what you do, enjoy it. But for me, I just don't. I don't believe Santa Claus is real. I literally spent 2 hours watching the Polar Express because it was big when I was a kid. I never watched it, so I watched it probably over the last week. And in the whole movie, they're trying to convince this kid that Santa Claus is really literally the entire 2 hours. They figured out a way to convince this kid Santa Claus is real, Christmas is real. And in my head, I'm like, but it's not. It's not real. So, uh, yeah, I don't. Why do I have to be someone that because I don't believe in this thing, I'm a Scrooge? Why
right,
can't I just be someone who doesn't believe in it?
right,
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah, good stuff though. So your top five holiday. What are we saying? Holiday moments, holiday movies, content, media, holiday stuff.
Holiday cultural media or something. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Your top five was so much. I feel like you looked at it in some ways a little bit different than I did because I kind of chose, and you can obviously you can jump in and tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I chose things that really resonated with me. So I didn't really look at it more so from a cultural standpoint, like how it impacted the culture. I looked at it more so like when I watch these films to this day, from when I saw them to this day, they kind of give me chills
Right.
when it comes to the holiday moments. So um, once again, great stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing it. It was great going through it. Um, so with my top five, uh, and once again in no particular order, I would love to start off with this with Chris Brown, This Christmas, and so it's interesting about this because there's probably 100, 200, 300 types and versions of this song that have been done. Hence us talking about Donny Hathaway's version.
Right.
Um, and when I looked at This Christmas, originally it was a film. It was done as a film. So Chris Brown's in the film. It has, I believe, Danny Glover's in it, Idris Alba, Columbus Short. So the film is where I first heard how I got tied in, how it got me connected to it. Um, and then from the film, Chris Brown did a video, actually, an actual music video for the soundtrack of him singing This Christmas. Um, and the reason that I thought this was incredible is because it added a new dynamic, a new spin to this classic song.
Right.
Um, another thing is he also does an Otis Redding song in the film. And once again, the film This Christmas is literally like Soul Food and every Medea film, so you ain't missing nothing. It's exactly the same, but it has its own flavor.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I chose that and that song specifically.
So I'll just jump off the gate and just say I don't like anything Chris Brown does, man. Like I watched the video and it's just it's layered to me. It's layered for me. Um, like initially, and I know this is just me attacking him personally, but for me, it just kind of ties into like why I didn't enjoy it, why I don't enjoy his music. Watching the video, it felt like I was just watching Usher dance. Like it just felt like he was ripping off Usher. Um, the thing with Rihanna, this made me lose all interest for him as an artist, and I feel like he's just hyped up more than his talent really is. Granted, I never listened to any of his albums, but any of the features I listened to, it just feels repetitive and boring. So I wasn't into it at all. I wasn't into it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. I agree with you to a point. I think for me, Chris Brown at that point in his career, watching that movie and that song at that point was really, I was into him.
Right.
Chris Brown today, now it kind of creates a different. The song still has its moment. It's a Christmas moment. It's a holiday moment, but I don't fuck with Chris Brown. like like I haven't listened to a Chris Brown album probably since like his probably second album.
Right.
But I was a fan, and at that point when it came out, I think it came out like 2007 or 2008. Um, he wasn't outwardly you know, it came out in 2007. He wasn't outly uh wilding out.
Right.
you know, he wasn't the Chris Brown that we all know today. We all hate in some ways today. So
Right.
it kind of like reminds me of R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly." Man, hearing that, still to this day when I hear it, it
Yeah.
has its moment. But I don't rock with R. Kelly no more, for obvious reasons. So that's kind of what I felt about this, and I didn't want to I don't want to let who he is today stop how I felt about it. Then it was a really really big film for me. So that's going to be my number 5. But I hear your points.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get that. I guess since I never listened to his music growing up, I just don't. I don't feel that connection, and it just kind of he spiraled. So
Yeah.
I just it's like I'm good forever now.
Trust me, if I ever have kids, we're probably never going to watch the music video or that movie. But it's something I definitely, when I hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, I remember this moment. I remember
Right.
when I like this. So yeah, that was my number 5. I have way more tracks than actual movies and videos, so I'll go through the tracks. Um, my number 4, and once again, not in any specific order, but my number 4 is "Let It Snow" by Boyz II Men and Brian McKnight. Um,
Woo.
so
Yo.
full transparency, I am a huge Boyz II Men fan. Like I could sing all they so "I'll Make Love to You" and "One Sweet Day" with Mariah Carey. Like I love Boyz II Men. So when when I first heard "Let It Snow," and then I heard Brian McKnight, and that's like vintage Brian McKnight. Like that's young Brian McKnight. It was special to me. The song is dope, but what did it for me was the video.
Bro. Bro.
So the video, every time I hear the song, I gotta stop. I gotta listen to the entire song and then go and watch the video. It's just it's soulful, but it's relatable. Like I could see myself with my lady, getting my like it just that epitomizes what like the holidays is for me with my future lady. I'm single, ladies, with my future lady. So that's why I had to put that on the list, man. It just, it was just beautiful. I don't know if it's necessarily a duet, but Brian McKnight did his thing, man. So
I don't think I've ever heard that song or watched that video before. That shit had me in my feelings, bro. It had me in my feelings. It had me jonesing. I was, yo, bro. That the video is just, like let it snow is a song that's been redone,
yeah,
but for me that I like their, for me listening to them sing it the twist was like, let it snow, who give a fuck, like we having fun, we thriving out here. um you see them, like it feels like a lot of what movies and shows were back in the day with like black group of friends hanging out together, taking trips, and you just see this richness of this black love, man. Everyone just having fun, playing games, teasing, joking, laughing, throwing snowballs at each other. And I can't remember the last time I've seen. Like I said, I know it exists everywhere. I know it exists everywhere, but I can't remember the last time I've seen or felt that way about like this black love and seeing black people together, just having a blast. Um, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Part of it. Another thing I thought about was what happened to all the black R&B groups, man. Like you see BTS, I think that Korean group, they're thriving, and it's like you know so much of the culture is just individual, alpha mindset. It's just me by myself. I don't need a team. I don't need a crew. But like watching Boys to Men, like get like just freak it on the mic together, and like some of these movies like Soul Food that had like Casey and JoJo, and it's
Yeah.
like I miss this. I miss this. I miss this. I miss this. I miss the love, bro. Like it's not part of the current experience. It doesn't feel like that. R&B is dead, right? R&B is dead. Doesn't really exist the way we know it. Um, but it just it felt good to just be reconnected with like the '90s vibe, man. But so that was a great choice, man. I'm glad you introduced it to me.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. It also brings up a point that I was thinking when I was watching it, that a lot of the R&B songs are about heartbreak, right? A lot of them are about, even like I was thinking about some of the Drew Hill videos I've watched. A lot of it's about heartbreak, the mid conditions, heartbreak, and then obviously Boys and Men also have a lot of songs about heartbreak, but for the holidays they do this holiday. And even Brian McKnight, he has a lot of songs about heartbreak, but for the holidays they have this one track that is like just let's just live in the moment and live in the
Right.
moment with people, with our loved ones, with our brothers, and the women we love. So, yeah, man, that is a classic. If I ever hear it, if you and I are out, trust me, I'm gonna stop and be like, yo, I gotta look up this video on YouTube because the video just does it
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
icing on the cake. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
yeah. Definitely, man.
So that was my number four. I'm gonna stick with the music. So uh, my number three is The Temptations' "Silent Night." Another like I don't even know how to explain it. So once again, I think we're on a pattern here where we talk about uh, Christmas music that has been continuously done in different ways, in different formats. Um, so obviously, Silent Night is a historic Christmas song. But what really like did it for me with the Temptations is is the it ain't even a song. It's the storytelling up to the song, like the way they tell the story, and the deep voices and
Right.
the oohs and the ahs. Like it is storytelling from like a Motown black community, in its best. Like I don't even need to listen to the song. The track is like 7 minutes, and it's just a long ass track. But the first 2 minutes, and that just like the lead up to when they actually started to sing, man. And my family's big Motown and Temptation fans, so um, yeah, that is definitely holiday cheer for me at its fine. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I'm not a fan of Christmas music. Like you and I just talked about retail, working in retail, and after Thanksgiving, the rest of the year until Christmas is Christmas music.
Right.
But if these retail companies play Motown, if they played a Motown Christmas album, I will be in there. I'll be getting my, shaking my ass, singing Temptations, and you know, uh, another one of my favorite artists who kills it is Smokey Robinson. He has some Christmas hits that just unbelievable. So yeah, that is that song, that Silent Night. It made it. I could just imagine it, like sitting there and seeing this black family, and it was a different type of Silent Night for me. So
Right.
um, so yeah, that's why I rock with it.
Yeah, I don't have too much on it. I think overall, I don't like the song Silent Night. I don't know, something about it just feels it's too low energy for me. Um, I, I like the song. I wasn't into it, but I like the song. Um, and I guess mostly I'm just thinking about I used to work at Crate and Barrel, and they'd have, we'd have like 2 or 3 holiday CD rotations. And one would be just like all white music and just like very lull. And then you have the Motown Christmas. And like, yo,
Yeah.
the store would just be bumping. Like, yo, there'd just be this high energy. Um, and I guess I'm thinking about like just the renditions. And yeah, well, I was thinking about soul actually. I forgot how you started off, but I was thinking about soul and how when these black artists recreate these songs, they just add soul into it and make it so much better, so much better.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Even the beginning with when and I don't know the band member's name, but he has that just really deep tone. And he's like, "It was the night before Christmas," and it just goes in. Uh, it's just so good, man.
Right.
But once again, it's a typical Christmas song. It's funny because having this conversation with you, I'm thinking, are there any Kwanzaa songs?
Mm,
I gotta look that up. I
I'm gonna look
wonder,
that up.
are there any uh, classic Kwanzaa songs? And if there isn't, it would be cool to see somebody create something around Kwanzaa. Um, but yeah, I anything Motown holiday, I'm down to bump. Um, so that was my number three. And then number two, it's not specifically a holiday movie, but it's a movie that me and my family we watch every holiday to this day. I watched it last year, and it's The Wiz. As we say in our family, it's the Black Wizard of Ours. Some people don't like that, but
Right.
that's essentially what it is. And you have Michael Jackson, you have Diana Ross is in it, you got Richard Pryor in it, um, and other really incredible musicians. I think Nipsey Russell is in it. I believe his name is. Um, and it's just essentially just it's our version. It's the Wizard of Oz with all that flavor,
Right. It was soul, right? It was
all that
soul.
flavor, man.
Right.
And the songs are incredible. You got Lena Horne's in it. You got all these incredible historians of Black culture in this film. And every time I watch it, it just gives me chills. Like I'm just like, what an incredible film and idea. I have to look it up and see who look into some of the background behind it, which I probably should have did before this, because I'm wondering was it director or writer where they sit on their couch watching The Wizard of Oz and be like, yo, we need our own version of this.
Why not? Right.
Because they use the same. Right? I'm pretty sure they use the same names. Dorothy was Diana Ross's character. So, and then also not only that from a music standpoint, but the visuals are great. The dancing was great. You know, the black people in that film were beautiful. The dance sequences and there's a scene where uh, they defeat the Wicked Witch of the West, I believe, and they're like all of the all of I don't want to say prisoners, but essentially all of the workers are shedding, and they just break out into this wonderful dance sequence. And I've never seen anything like it. It is hands down one of the most unique renditions of The Wizard of Oz, or in this case, The Wiz I've ever seen. Um, it's kind of like a, uh, it's kind of like a, it has like a place in history. Like
Right.
that's when Michael Jackson was black, like when he was like the Michael Jackson.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just a huge fan of The Wiz.
So this some history. The Wiz started out as a play called The Wiz, the Super Soul Musical Wonderful Wizard of Oz,
Hmm.
and it opened on October 21st, 1974, and the movie premiered 1978. That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I mean, everything you said, man. Everything you said. So to start, remember I talked about Black experience, Haitian. I've never seen The Wiz. This is my
Wait,
first time
what?
seeing The Wiz. This was my first time seeing The Wiz, and it's crazy, right? Because
Oh,
I'm black, and I should have seen The Wiz because all black people see The Wiz. This is my first time watching The Wiz, bro. Um, and it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. It is beautiful. It is soulful. The costume design, the sets, just the creativity. Man, it had me in my feels to it. I don't really like musicals, but it's Michael Jackson starting in a row. It's like, yeah, you better like this type of musical. You know what it is? I think I don't like most musicals because most of the musicals are white based and don't have soul. So I think
yeah,
that's
they're
that's more
cheesy.
of my truth. Yeah, that's more of my truth. Um, it so it was dope to watch this for the first time at this age. It was dope to watch this for the first time. Some of the thoughts I had were there feels like there was this rich, unique culture back then that just doesn't feel present. Like kind of like you said, a lot of my focus was comparing it to like what's going on now, and just watching these mega superstars, right, of the Black experience come together to create this monumental and pivotal film was dope and inspiring. And like I've been saying, this like it's lacking. But also thinking about how these people are superstars, right? Like they're singers, they dance, they can act. Like there's so many different layers to what everyone, everyone of the who acted in that movie can do. And just thinking about how like there aren't really that many multi-talented superstars as there used to be. Um, it's just fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. But at some point while watching the movie, I thought to myself, this is just the Wizard of Oz. I don't like the Wizard of Oz. And
Yeah,
then I checked out mentally. As soon as I realized, I like, it's just the Wizard of Oz. I just kind of checked out because, as always, my issue is I want originality. Give me an original story. Don't recreate. Don't recreate. It's beautiful for what it is, but I want what's the black equivalent of the Wiz that is an original story. That's what I want. That's what I want to see.
yeah,
But I love it overall. I loved it, and it is something that I'd watch more regularly throughout my life.
yeah. It's you bring up a great point because I think about that when it comes to like the movie Annie. Like I just saw
Mm.
that I saw they're coming out with a Black Annie.
I thought they
Um,
did that already. No,
there's one coming on TV next next week.
okay.
So they might have done it already, but even with that, like it's the same kind of thing, right? You have Annie. Why not have something that's original to our culture?
Felicia, give me a Felicia story. Like what the
Felicia.
fuck?
Yeah, like I definitely agree, but I also think a lot of times people do these and these companies do this because it's viewership. They want people to tie it to something. They want people uh, to be able to compare it. So that's what you see in both from both sides. But I agree, man, and I don't go a year without watching. I probably watch The Wiz probably realistically probably 8 or 9 times a year. Like it is,
Damn.
and it doesn't change anytime. I always watch it. I love all the scenes. I love all the characters. I don't fast forward. I do some rewinding. Um, the way that Diana Ross sings that song, "Home," just it just hits me. It's such a great song. And Lena Horne would believe in yourself or believe or just it's beautiful, beautiful music. So yeah, that would have been my number one, but
So
because
there is some type of order for you.
no, that's what I was about.
Okay.
I was about to say because we're not doing any order. It doesn't need to be, but that is definitely if there was, that would have been number one for me, hands down. Um, but my uh, last film is The Preacher's Wife uh, with Whitney Houston. You got Denzel Washington. You got Courtney B. Vance. Um, Who else is in it? There's so many other incredible people in it.
Gregory Hines,
Gregory
Paul
Hines is in it.
Bates, Lionel Richie.
Lionel
Yeah,
Richie's in it. Yeah. So when I think of the holidays, I think of The Preacher's Wife. I just think throughout the entire film, from beginning to end, the storyline. I will say one thing that is different from this film from other black films around the black experience. Yeah, they're going through this process, but I think, or what I found interesting is this enlightenment the pastor's going through. Right, Courtney B. Vance's character, he's going through this enlightenment, and even the I don't even want to say, to me it wasn't a romantic thing between Denzel and uh, Whitney Houston's character. It wasn't really romantic, it was more so like banter, but it just reignited relationship and reunited family and community. And then it has to be one of the top soundtracks. Like the Preacher's Wife soundtrack for holiday. If you ain't listening to that, they need to start bumping that in some of these stores. It just, classic Whitney Houston,
right.
classic. I think for her, and I would have to look at and see what, if she shared some of the experience back then, but it just took her back to her roots. Sharing a lot of gospel music, and I'm not a big gospel music guy, but when Whitney's singing, I listened.
Right.
So yeah, I really really enjoy it. I love the sequences where even the scene where Gregory Hines is having a conversation about the conversation with Courtney B. Vance about I guess selling the church. And then he has this whole thing where his piano, the keys are moving, and these things are happening. And he's like, "What the hell?" Like, to me, that was just so clever and so fun. And I just think it's a really, really, really great film. So yeah, that rounds out my top 5. But what are your thoughts?
So I watched The Preacher's Wife when I was younger. I'll be honest, I kind of skimmed through it this time around. It's interesting on a few levels for me. You brought up it never felt romantic, right? But it does though at times, right? It feels like it's Dudley and what's her name, Julia Whitney Houston, and Dudley is Denzel Washington as the angel.
Yeah.
It feels romantic. I watched the scene with them ice skating, and maybe that's just the what's the word the jealous part of me. Like, you see another man with your wife
Yeah.
laughing and giggling and skiing around, your son sitting on the bench like, mommy, like, looks like, that's what that felt like to me. But I know that's not what it's supposed to be, but that's what it felt like. But I think it's a good overall lesson in two things, right? Like fixing home, right? There was home, the church, and there was home, his home with there was Courtney B. Vance's characters, the Reverend, his home with his wife, and his home at church. And there was a scene where Denzel was like, you should go upstairs and ask your wife to go dancing tonight. He's like, nah, Courtney B. Vance is like, no, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. He's like, you already asked her, didn't you? He's like, yeah, she's upstairs getting dressed right now. And he's just defiant. He's like, she's like, it's knowing that at the end of the day, right? Like, I think your personal home needs to be fixed and established first, because without establishing and securing that foundation, everything else is more easily to kind of crumble and fall through. So I enjoyed seeing the dual responsibility and kind of like the nuances of fixing two homes, and I guess the choices that the Reverend was so focused on the church and willing to risk it all and lose his wife just to get the church settled. When you can utilize her, right? Like if home was working, right, and he was communicating with his wife, and they were being, I guess, partners in a relationship, even though he's the reverend, he could have discovered her talent. Like, he could have realized that she was this beautiful singer and all of that. And he could have maybe more earlier on kind of start putting church like in a new direction. But sometimes you need outside influence to gain perspective. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and another thing that so just to be fair, it is there is romantic connotation there, right? That the goal, there's a reason that they set it up that way, because essentially this angel is figuring out what it is to feel human. So he's
mm,
going through all these emotions and he's going through these trials and tribulations throughout the process. But so yeah, there's a romantic connotation there. But in my head, I'm like, as an adult watching it now, I know I've seen the movie several times, so I know
right,
what's
right,
what's happening. But if you watch it for the first time, I can definitely understand you feeling that way. But on the flip side, what really stands out is people that, and this is where I think I've lost some of what the movie is trying to convey, is that it plays a lot into religion. I'm not a religious person, so to me, it's like cool. This is why I love the movie. But I understand how it plays in religion because you have this angel essentially assisting in enlightenment. So when you look at that, that brings a different dynamic. So people that are Christians, that are religious, I'm sure when they watch it, they may see it a little bit different than how I see it now as someone who is
right.
not religious. So yeah. But I love it. And there was a point in my life where I was going to church and doing a lot with my family, when I was younger. So I seen it at that point and fell in love with it at that point. And one thing that's important for me with anything I watch is that I love seeing black people up black people. I love seeing us up us. So in The Wiz, you see a lot of that. But in The Preacher's Wife, at the end, when Reverend Biggs he's giving this sermon, you have Dudley outside just like, yeah, he's elated with excitement for this brother. He's like, he got it, he gets it.
Right.
And that was something that just was super powerful to me after watching this film and being like, they as a family they've gone through this process trying to figure things out. He's having an issue with essentially work life balance, and then at the end of the film, the person that or the angel that's here trying to help him on his path of enlightenment is bigging him up. And that excitement when he's outside and he's doing it, and Denzel, I'm like, man, what a beautiful moment. So that's what really kind of did it for me with the film. But yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, man. Religion. I mean, I had my waves of religion and Christianity, being born again, and the I want to be respectful. The allure, the connection, the relationship of God and feeling like his power is moving through you, his influence is moving through you. It's humbling, man. It's humbling. It's humbling to feel that superiority is within you and moving with you. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. This has been great, bro. Like
yeah,
like
man.
going through this, watching like it. I would say I suggest anyone who's listening to this to a friend, a family member, maybe an elder in your family, ask them about maybe one film or one thing in their top five and go watch it. You ain't got to do all five, but
Right.
just go watch one because you may learn something about the person you didn't learn. I through this process and looking at what you shared, I learned that there, yeah, these shows I watched, and I'm sure I was a Rugrats kid. I'm sure if I asked my parents, I definitely watched it. But the significance for some of the things that I've seen, knowing that these conversations and these episodes happened, and to your point, people probably just looked over it like as
Right.
another
Right.
episode, like us. And there are some people who probably did take it in, but I'm sure there are others that just was like, hey, it's Wednesday's new episode. It's around Christmas time, so it's a Christmas
Right. Right.
episode.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and I really appreciate it and glad that we had time to just go back and watch these and kind of dissect it. And that's what our whole podcast is about, right? We're dissecting these the impact that all this is having in our culture, but we're looking at it from a different lens than what we've seen before. So yeah, it was great, man. Some of these I'm going to rewatch. Like I said, the Rugrats, you got me with that.
Right.
So I'm gonna look for other Christmas episodes and Kwanzaa episodes in some of these shows and going from there.
Yeah, I really like your suggestion on just finding someone you love and care about, your parents, grandparent, something like one of their traditions or a movie, show, song that they loved growing up. Just kind of reconnecting with that and just learning from each other, right? Instilling that idea of community and bridging the gap between generations, which I feel like has been a theme in a lot of these songs. Yeah, man, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. All
I
right.
mean, last thing, like I watch these and out now. I'm like, yo, I think I might want to celebrate Kwanzaa moving forward. So you never know what comes from it, right? Like it's all supposed to. I say it's all supposed to inspire. Art is supposed to inspire. So watch these with hopes for inspiration, and again, like I say, changing the Black experience and changing your experience.
And it's totally fine to have the thoughts you have about it. Like, some of these songs that I shared, they don't have the same exact feelings. You don't have the same feelings that I have for them, and that's okay, right? It's just we're two different individuals.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they have their place in our culture. They have their place and impact. They impact people in their way. So to be able to have that conversation, to be able to say, hey, just check it out. See if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But understand that it has its place. I think it's huge. So
Please, I'm begging everyone and anyone, if you listen to this, go watch the Boyz II Men Friday Midnight Let It Snow video. Please watch that. And if it doesn't move you, if it doesn't move your heart, if you don't feel a type of way, I want to hear about it. I want to hear about it because I think that is one of like the most beautiful things any of us are going to see for a while, man. I think it's beautiful and I think it's important.
all right, well, all right, good stuff. Do we want to? I don't know how we want to end. How we ending these days? Did we talk about that?
I don't know. I think for YouTube, we just talked about just posting it. Yeah. I think we could just end it, and then we'll just add the outro towards the end.
Yeah,
right?
but we're not saying social media anymore or follow us or anything like that.
No, that'll be for the outro. Yeah.
Okay. So are we just ending? Am I just stopping?
I mean, yeah, we give a courtesy goodbye and then we end it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this has been great, Cliff. I appreciate you again, brother. I'm happy to be back. Excited to start having our conversations again, and as we always do, we'll connect offline, and we're going to be doing a Clubhouse. So we're going to be getting back into Clubhouse, which is exciting. So if you're listening to this and you're a user of Clubhouse, come on, stop on by. We would love to hear your thoughts about the episode.
And bring in your holiday episodes too, to what you love, man. Yeah,
100%. Anything else you would like to add?
Yep, I'm all good.
All right, it's a wrap. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Clubhouse for bi-weekly club discussions and occasional recaps at Nothing Moves Without Us. Please follow our TikTok and Instagram at A Black Culture Podcast. And you can watch podcast episodes on YouTube at Nothing Moves Without Us, a Black Culture Podcast.